Ever wanted to record a podcast, stream your thoughts to the world, and get paid for it? Well, with Anchor, it's all possible. With Anchor, you can record and edit your podcast from your mobile devices. Anchor will then stream your podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. So download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Then check out Kalani Starr Presents Hood Scholarship.
This is not your average podcast. Hood Scholarship. Hood Scholarship. This is not your average podcast. Hood Scholarship. This is not your average podcast. Hood Scholarship. Hood Scholarship.
Hey, welcome to Hood Scholarship and our pop quiz episode, where we'll bring you a segment from Kalani Starr Presents Hood Scholarship entitled, I Bet You Don't Know. And in this episode of I Bet You Don't Know, we're going to stick to the script laid out for us in the beginning of the class. It's the first of the month, the 1st of April to be exact. In modern day society, this day is celebrated worldwide as a day of hilarious jokes, tricks, and pranks. But also in today's society, we celebrate holidays and festivals without the proper knowledge of where they derive from. So with that being said, let's get into it.
Hood Scholarship.
So few are aware of the change from the more older Julian calendar to our present-day Gregorian calendar, in which the more popular reason for celebrating April Fool's Day is attributed to. But we'll come back to that later. If you follow the Rabbit Hole podcast, you already know we like to analyze the information a little further.
Hood Scholarship.
Now, in Norse mythology, the god Loki, a god that was a trickster, a shapeshifter, a god of mischief, a god of chaos before new beginnings, is often celebrated during the vernal equinox or the spring equinox. Loki was often the blame for the necessary chaos and confusion brought before a new start, because to rebuild you must first destroy. A new start being a new year in ancient times. So by playing tricks on each other, the Norse believed that the evil spirits were being distracted from the myriad of sacred fertility rituals which were happening at the same time. With knowledge of Mother Nature and awareness of the fertile season in which she goes through during the spring, the ancients saw this as a time for fertility in a new year.
This is not
Ancient
your
Europe adopted Phrygians' only goddess Sibyl, and by the 6th century BC, other Greek colonies followed suit. In Rome, she was worshipped as Magna Mater, or a Great Mother, in an uncanny parallel to the Sumerian goddess Tiamat. Sibyl was also considered by Greeks to be the mother of all gods and all human beings. An ancient festival known as Hilaria was celebrated on the vernal equinox in commemoration of Sibyl and her many equivalent deities throughout Europe. And the Romans celebrated this day March 25th, where they did public rejoicings and sacrifices. It was a time of both death and rebirth, as well as mourning and celebration. This is a result of Hilaria being the first day of the year when the day and night were equal.
Hood Scholarship. This is not your average podcast.
So now back to the more modern derivations of April Fool's Day, or All Fool's Day. The Julian calendar was implemented by Julius Caesar in 46 BC, which became the calendar for the Western world for nearly 1600 years, till Pope Gregory XIII decided to modify the calendar, which is said to be a more exact math of an actual solar year. In 1582, France had a reformation of the Julian calendar, but prior to the Reformation, the French celebrated the New Year for 8 days, starting March 25th and ending April 1st, After the Reformation, the New Year was moved from March 25th to January 1st. This system was only adopted by England and its colonies in 1752 in accordance with the 1750 Act of Parliament. Its purpose was for Great Britain and the British Empire to adopt the Gregorian calendar.
Hood scholarship.
The Act also factored in other dating anomalies, such as changing the start of the legal year from March 25th to January 1st. The Act removed 11 days from September 1752 calendar, which went from September 2nd, 1752 to September 14th, 1752.
This is not your average.
The day December 31st, 1750 was promptly followed by January 1st, 1750. Same year, because under the Julian calendar, December was the 10th month and January was the 11th. So then we make it to the eve of the old style calendar, March 24th, 1750, which was immediately followed by March 25th, 1751, and the first transition of January being celebrated as a new year happened January 1st, 1752.
This is not your average podcast.
Being that social media and more modern technologies which we go about getting information was not around, getting the news of such changes didn't flow through the colonies so well. So the ones who were in the know often use April 1st as a day to fool those who are celebrating the new year out of date. Hence the term April Fools. Who's really the fool though? Does a celebration of a new year make sense when nature around most of the world is dead and crops aren't growing? As we can tell in ancient times, the new year was often celebrated in alignment with the spring equinox, due to the rebirth of nature. So was this a way to manipulate man away from nature?
Hood scholarship.
Daniel 7:25.
And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws. And they shall be given into his hand until the time and times and the dividing of time.
Hood scholarship.
Could this be one of the many divisions of the times referenced in prophecy? There's paganism riddled throughout our yearly holidays and festivals, so it's no surprise we find it in April Fool's Day as well. So if your beliefs have strict restrictions on celebrations of other cultures, you should probably dig deeper into what you're actually celebrating. And with the big hats, new suits, only time of the year the kids get dressed up in suits and dresses, Easter fastly approaching, you should already expect a pop quiz episode. So until next time, I bet you don't know.
Hood scholarship. This is not your average podcast.
But I bet you don't know, no. Guess you don't know.
Hood scholarship.
You don't know, but I bet you don't know, no. Guess you don't
This
know.
is not your average podcast.
Guess you don't know.
Hood scholarship.